Indeed, we are very good friends with Indonesia. This year we've celebrated the 73rd anniversary of our bilateral relations. We are strategic partners with ASEAN. But I would like to note that in the Pacific, actually we don't have any objections against the Indo-Pacific vision of ASEAN that was promoted by Indonesia, but unfortunately there are so many Indo-Pacific concepts that are the same name, they're named the same way, but they're very different from what Indonesia is promoting. Indonesia is promoting a very inclusive concept of dialogue and cooperation between all the nations of Asia-Pacific, while the West is promoting something very divisive and exclusive, and basically it excludes China. Actually, what is wrong with Asia-Pacific? Why this new concept was introduced? In essence, we agree with the concept promoted by Indonesia that all nations should be included. There should be an equal dialogue and equal cooperation of all the nations in Asia-Pacific. Unfortunately, in the present geopolitical situation, we don't see that all parties agree to that. Our agenda in the Asia-Pacific, and especially in our relations with Indonesia, is very transparent. Well, I would like to say that this crisis is not a consequence of, say, the Russian military operation in Ukraine per se. Actually, it is handmade by Europe and the United States, which have imposed unilateral and illegitimate sanctions against Russia. This crisis, especially in energy and food crisis, is the result actually of these sanctions. From our part, we are doing whatever we can to tackle these issues. The grain deal actually also is one of the efforts to ensure food security. Unfortunately, we see that our Western partners are not committed to this deal. We, from our part, because the deal included not only the possibility for Ukraine to export its grain, but also for Russian producers to export our produce, and we were promised that the producers, the insurance, the banks, that deal will be excluded from the sanctions. But it happened only on the paper. It never happened in real life. The problem is not that there is no peace plans on table. Prabowo came out with this plan. Our Chinese partners have suggested plans. We have our African partners that are also willing to mediate. It's not the problem that we don't have parties who would like to assist and to mediate. The problem is that it is rejected by the Ukrainian side and its sponsors. What happened during the Shangri-La dialogue, where Prabowo presented his plan? Immediately the Ukrainians said no, without any consideration, without even, just thinking a couple of minutes. Immediately, the reaction was immediately no. So the problem is that we don't see any sign from the Ukrainian side, and of course instigated by the West, because Ukrainians, not Ukrainian people, but Ukrainian government and President Zelensky are not independent. Of course, they are just puppets in the hand of Washington and Brussels. So immediately no. And also I would like to remind you that it was the Ukrainian party who walked out from the peace negotiations last year in Istanbul. We had several rounds of peace talks in Turkey last year, and we were on the brink of signing an agreement with the Ukrainian side. But after the then Prime Minister of Great Britain, Boris Johnson, came to Kyiv, Zelensky ordered the Ukrainian delegation to walk out from the talks, and then October, if I'm not mistaken, last year, he signed a decree forbidding any kind of peace dialogue with Russia. You know, to have a peace plan or a peace dialogue, it needs two sides to agree on that. But we don't see any sign or any intention from the Ukrainian side, from Kyiv, to engage in any kind of dialogue with Russia.